The phone's shrill ring tore through the stillness of the night at exactly 2:14 a.m., slicing into the darkness like an air raid siren ripping apart a battlefield of sleep. For a travel nurse who had just survived a brutal 12-hour IQ shift, that sound set my pulse skyrocketing before I had even pried my eyes open. I fumbled blindly across my nightstand, knocking over an empty coffee cup as my fingers searched for the vibrating phone. My eyes were raw from exhaustion, my hands still unsteady from the 4 espresso shots I chugged just to crawl through the last 2 hours of work. "Brianna, save your father, he's going to be paralyzed." My mother Marla's blood-curdling scream blasted through the speaker, turning my veins to ice. Every trace of fatigue evaporated, replaced instantly by pure adrenaline that flooded my entire body. She was sobbing deep, choking sobs that sounded like she was drowning. "Mom, what are you talking about?" His spine, a ruptured disc, permanent paralysis. Each word slammed into me like a physical punch. "You have 6 hours, Brianna. Are you hearing me? If we don't transfer $25,000 before 8 a.m., they'll cancel his surgery and your father. He'll never walk again." I jolted upright, my nurse brain trying to push through the fog of panic. "Why do you need cash? Where's the insurance?" "Dad has coverage. I pay for it every month." "It's Dr. Kinsley at the private neurological institute," Mom sobbed, every syllable cracking. "He's the only one who can save the nerves right now, but he's out of network. The damage is so severe, Brianna. Your father is in agony, and if those nerves die, that's it. He'll be in a wheelchair forever." "But Mom, why does Dr. Kinsley demand a cash retainer? 25,000 before he'll even scrub in." Her crying intensified until her voice blurred. "We tried for a medical loan tonight, but we were denied instantly. You know, our credit awful. We're drowning, Brianna. We have nothing. I'm watching your father suffer and I can't do anything." The lie was perfectly engineered to hit every one of my fears, tailored to exploit everything I knew about my parents' catastrophic financial habits. And I did know too well. That was why I paid their mortgage directly instead of handing them money. It was completely believable that their credit score had tanked and no bank would touch them. I shook Vaughn awake, gripping his shoulder. My fiancé sat up instantly, his engineer's mind analyzing my tear-streaked face. "It's my dad," I choked. "Emergency spinal surgery. They need $25,000 in cash by 8 a.m., or they'll cancel everything." Vaughn pushed his hair back, already reaching for his glasses. "Can't they transfer him to an in-network hospital? Or get another opinion?" "There's no time." I was crying hard now, my panic echoing my mother's. If the spinal cord is compressed, waiting even an hour could cause permanent damage. And Mom said their credit is shot, no loans, nothing. We're all they have, Vaughn. We're the only thing between Dad and a wheelchair. I saw something shift in Vaughn's expression. He hated this. I knew he did. But he also wasn't the kind of man who would let money decide whether someone walked again, especially not my father. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay, we'll do it." With shaking hands, we logged into our joint savings on my phone. The wedding fund we had scraped together over 3 years, every bonus, every extra shift, every tax refund glowed on the screen. $25,847.32, our future, our celebration, our beginning. In a handful of taps, I wired $25,000 to my mother's bank account. The confirmation screen illuminated our dark bedroom. Available balance, $847.32. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at that number, believing I had just bought my father's future, believing I had just saved his life. I didn't know I had just bought a car. I texted Mom the confirmation code with trembling fingers. She replied instantly, "Thank you, baby. You saved him. I'll call you when he's better." Vaughn pulled me into his chest and I sobbed into his shirt while he stroked my hair. "It's okay," he murmured. "We'll save again. We'll postpone the wedding a year. Your dad is worth it." I believed him. I believed all of it. To understand why, you need the full picture of my life back then. I'm a travel nurse in the Bay Area, earning $4,000, $5,000 a week with overtime. People hear that and assume I'm rich. I'm not. I'm a high-paid zombie fueled by caffeine and guilt. I work 12-hour night shifts in the icy code coats, crash carts, families watching their loved ones slip away. Then I drive home at sunrise, sleep maybe 5 hours, and wake up to pay my parents' bills from 400 miles away. Their $3,500 mortgage, insurance premiums, property taxes, car insurance. I thought I was keeping them afloat. I thought I was being a dutiful daughter from afar, making up for choosing higher pay in the Bay Area over staying near them in the high desert. I was exhausted, desperate to be loyal, desperate to be good, and because of that, I missed every glaring red flag waiting right in front of me. For 5 days after the transfer, nothing. No surgery update, no recovery photo, no text saying Dad was awake, nothing. When I called twice a day, I got foggy excuses. "He's resting. The doctor says he needs quiet." On day 3, Vaughn's suspicion sharpened. He sat at his laptop, frowning. "Brianna, come here." I walked over in my scrubs. "What?" "Log into your dad's insurance portal. The one you pay for. Why?" "Just do it." I pulled up the insurance site and logged in with my usual credentials. Recent claims, nothing. Zero activity. "There's nothing here," I whispered. "Exactly," Vaughn said, jaw clenched. "Why isn't there an anesthesia bill? Or a facility bill? Even out-of-network surgeons use in-network hospitals." Something would show up. A cold heaviness settled in my stomach. Maybe it hasn't processed. "It's been 5 days, Brie." I stared at the empty claims list. The annoying feeling I'd been smothering for days finally broke through. "We need to go there," I said. My voice sounded distant. Vaughn was already closing the laptop. "I'll pack a bag." We drove 6 hours through the night, trading off driving, though I couldn't sleep. I kept running scenarios, billing delays, special exceptions, clerical errors, anything but the truth clawing at me. "Stop," Vaughn said gently, squeezing my hand. "We'll know soon." We pulled into my parents' driveway just as the sun rose, painting the desert sky orange and pink. I was prepared for anything: a ramp, a hospital bed, a back brace, slow movements. Instead, everything stopped. My dad, Leland Hayes, the man supposedly 5 days post-emergency spinal surgery, was climbing a ladder. Not struggling, not assisted, climbing with the easy confidence of someone who had never had back trouble. He stretched, he grinned, strolling over to the van and patting its side like it was some racehorse he had personally bred. "You're just in time to see her," he said proudly. "Isn't she gorgeous?" My lips parted, but nothing came out. My throat felt like it had been filled with sand. Jagger traced the gleaming paint with his fingertips, admiring the van like it was sacred. "The down payment was the only thing holding me back," he told me. "I've been trying to make this dream real for 2 years, but I could never get that chunk of cash together. Now, once I hit the road, the gigs will cover the monthly payments. I can finally tour the West Coast, hit the festivals, build my audience. This right here, this is going to change everything for my music career. Honestly, Brie, it's a smart investment." Him? He truly believed it. He genuinely, wholeheartedly believed that draining my wedding fund for a luxury touring van was a reasonable business partnership. Like I had willingly stepped into the role of angel investor for his non-existent music empire. "Down payment?" I repeated, barely audible, my voice trembling like a loose wire. Mom told me you couldn't get a loan because your credit was trash. I sent the money because I thought no bank would touch you. Jagger laughed, completely unaware he was detonating a landmine. What? No, the dealer ran Mom and Dad's credit. It came back over 750. He shrugged, casual as ever. The guy was impressed. Said they were ideal clients. That's why they approved the rest 35 grand so fast. We just needed your cash to meet the 20% down payment for the premium model. The world tilted sharply. Over 750. Their credit score was over 750. I stood frozen on the driveway as the desert heat pressed down, and the truth snapped into place with ruthless clarity. For 2 years, I had been paying their mortgage directly to the lender, never handing them money, never, because I knew how catastrophically irresponsible they were. Every month, I wired $2,800 straight to the mortgage company. I paid their insurance, their taxes, anything that could damage their credit. I covered. My support hadn't just propped them up, it had polished their credit score to perfection. And they used that perfect score to stage a medical emergency and steal $25,000 from me. To buy a vehicle for Jagger, Brianna? His smile finally faded. You okay? Before I could respond, my mother stepped into the doorway, Marla Hayes. 60 years old, wrapped in a floral robe and clutching her coffee like this was any ordinary morning. Our eyes met, and her face flickered through surprise, guilt, calculation, then landed squarely on defensiveness. She came down the steps and planted herself beside Jagger, one hand on his shoulder like she was shielding him. You drove all the way down here? She said lightly. We weren't expecting you. Where's the paralysis, Mom? My voice was flat, empty. Where's the wheelchair? Where's the emergency spinal surgery that was supposed to happen 5 days ago? Oh, honey. She actually looked relieved. The doctor called after you sent the money. He said your father only needs physical therapy. Isn't that wonderful? The MRI wasn't as bad as they feared. We just didn't want to stress you out with all the back and forth. You didn't want to worry me, I repeated. The words like acid. That's right, she nodded, warming to her freshly constructed fantasy. And look, while you're here, I know you're upset about the van, but you have to understand. Jagger has been depressed, stuck. This van gives him purpose, a real chance. When he starts making money on tour, he'll pay you back double, triple. Vaughn moved closer, stepping between me and my mother. His face was pale, but his jaw was locked stone hard. When he spoke, his voice was cold and controlled, deadly calm. This isn't an investment, Marla. Each word dropped like a gavel. This is grand larceny. You lied about a medical emergency, fabricated paralysis, and stole your daughter's wedding fund to buy a toy for your unemployed son. This is wire fraud. Mom's face turned crimson. How dare you talk to me like that? We're family. This is between me and my daughter. And I'm about to be family too, Vaughn shot back, his voice quiet but sharp enough to cut steel. And if you were anyone else, we'd already be on the phone with the police. We have the texts, the transfer record, the proof. You wouldn't dare, she said, though her voice wavered. Behind her, my father finally climbed off the ladder. He stood there holding a dripping sponge, staring at the windshield like it required his full attention, anything to avoid taking responsibility. Not defending me, not looking at me, not apologizing, just pretending nothing was wrong. Mom was gearing up to unleash another story, another justification, another twist of emotional blackmail. Jagger stood next to the van, looking confused, genuinely baffled why anyone would be upset about his big break. For the first time ever, I didn't see family. I saw a bottomless pit of entitlement that would devour me forever if I kept feeding it. I saw people who turned love into currency, and I was always the one paying the bill. A cold, Clean decision crystallized inside me. Not revenge, just the boundary I should have drawn years ago. Mom shifted tactics instantly. Her face.
Paula, I saw the van. I heard the screaming. Did they really buy that thing with your wedding money? Paula, my mother's biological sister. Family outcast. Drama refugee. The one who literally moved across the county to escape Marla's chaos. The only adult who had ever been brutally honest with me, even when the truth sliced. I typed back, yes, they told me Dad needed emergency spine surgery. Paula, oh, sweetheart. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Your mother is... I don't even have a word strong enough. Listen, if you need someone actually here, someone who can tell you what's really happening, I'm here. Just don't let them know we're talking. A lifeline. An undercover ally. Me. Thank you. I might. Paula, whatever you need. I mean that. I've watched Marla twist you into knots for years, and I hated myself for staying quiet. I'm not staying quiet now. I dropped my phone into my lap and stared out the window at the desert blurring by. Vaughn reached over and laced his fingers through mine. What's going through your head? He asked softly. I'm thinking, I said, slow and controlled, that they have no idea what they've set in motion. Somewhere between mile markers 150 and 151. On Interstate 5, I made the move that would change everything. I unlocked my phone and opened my banking app. The next mortgage payment, $2,800, was already scheduled like always, set to pull on the first of the month directly to the bank. I tapped into the settings. Mortgage direct pay. Canceled. Then I opened the insurance portal. The health insurance policy I've been covering for 2 years straight. $700 every month. Policy autopay. Canceled. Just like that. The $3,500 in monthly life support I've been providing was cut off. No warning, no explanation, no heartfelt speech. No text, no email, no letter. The cord was severed. It wasn't meant as a trap. Not then. I was simply done. Completely, absolutely done. Vaughn glanced over, seeing the glow of my phone. What are you doing? Cutting them off. The payments, he asked. All of them. All of them. He was silent for a beat, then nodded. Good. Here's what 32 years had taught me. My parents and Jagger never believed consequences would stick. They heard the words I said in that driveway, but they didn't absorb a single one. They were convinced this was just another flare-up, one more fight I cry over and then fix. In their minds, I was a built-in safety net, the responsible one, the girl who'd always panic at the thought of them failing. They were certain that by the first of the month, the money would magically appear like always. They never imagined I would let them face reality alone. And I counted on that arrogance. When Vaughn and I got back to our apartment in the Bay, I did something I had never done in my entire life. I blocked their numbers. All three of them, Mom, Dad, and Jagger. Then I blocked them on Facebook, Instagram, every platform I could think of. I didn't just cut off the money. I erased myself from their ecosystem, leaving them alone with their $60,000 delusion and no access point to reach me except through channels they didn't know existed. Vaughn watched everything from the kitchen table, chewing cold pizza and trying to process the last 48 hours. They'll realize it on the first, he murmured. When the mortgage fails, they'll come after you. Let them. I said, feeling something like peace settle over me. I'm not holding the checkbook anymore. What do they show up here? Building security will turn them away. They're not allowed in. What if they show up at your job? Hospital security doesn't negotiate with hysterical relatives. They'll be escorted out. He set down his pizza. You've thought this through. I had 6 hours in the car. I met his eyes. They made their choice when they bought that van. Now they live with it. Through Aunt Paula, I learned everything I needed while rebuilding my life in California. Paula, they still don't get it. Your mom is bragging at church about Jagger's big tour, showing off van pictures. Paula, Jagger left yesterday, took the van and 2 buddies, headed into the desert for, I don't know, a music festival circuit or creative rebirth. Paula, your dad just bought a new 65-inch TV. Had it delivered. That last one made me bark out a laugh. Sharp, hollow, amazed. They were celebrating like lottery winners in the short, blissful window before the crash. I focused on my life. Picked up extra shifts, 4 12s instead of 3. The overtime was ridiculous. I watched the wedding fund slowly climb back up. $847. Then $1,500. Then $3,200. Vaughn and I talked about pushing the wedding. But then he looked at me one night while we cooked dinner and said, "What if we just did it? City Hall. Sarah can be a witness. My brother can be the other. That's not the wedding we planned." "No," he said, smiling softly, "but it's a marriage. And after everything that's happened, I just want you as my wife. I don't need a party for that." I stirred the sauce, thinking the big wedding had always been partly for my parents anyway. Mom's bragging rights, Dad for formative pride. "City Hall sounds perfect," I said. We got married 3 weeks after the driveway meltdown, a Tuesday in October. Sarah and Vaughn's brother Mike signed as witnesses. I wore a cream dress I already owned. Vaughn wore his best suit. We said our vows before a judge, then splurged on a steak dinner and laughed about saving $20,000 by ditching the spectacle. I didn't tell my parents. Why would I? They weren't invited. They didn't pay. They had already taken their share. Paula's updates kept coming. "Paula, they still haven't put anything together. Mortgage isn't due yet. They think you're just sulking. Paula, your mom thinks you changed your number. She's telling everyone you're being dramatic. Good. Let her spin whatever story she wants. Paula, Jagger's still out in the desert. Tracker shows him somewhere near Joshua Tree. I ignored that one. I didn't care where he parked his monument. But November 1st was creeping closer. The day the mortgage would fail, the insurance would bounce, and the delusion would collapse. One night, Vaughn found me staring at the calendar. What are you thinking? That they're about to learn I wasn't bluffing. You ready for that? I don't know. I admitted, but I'm not backing down. He pulled me into his chest. Then I'm with you. All the way. Patience, I'd learned, is the predator's greatest strength. I'd set the trap. Now I just had to let them walk straight into it. As they always did. The silence finally cracked a week later. Through Paula, not them. I was mid-shift when my phone buzzed. Paula's messages were broken into frantic chunks, like she was hiding in a bathroom or a car. Power company sent final notice. Your mom is screaming that the bank messed up the auto pay. I stopped cold in the hallway. A resident nearly rammed me with a med cart. I told her to call you, but she says she can't reach you. Of course not. I blocked them the moment I left. She sold your dad's fancy espresso machine to keep the lights on, the one from last Christmas. $400 on Facebook Marketplace. I slipped into an empty supply closet and reread the message. The trap had finally sprung. The espresso machine Dad's pride and joy bought with money meant for their mortgage was now a desperate lifeline. I typed to Paula, "Don't tell them how to reach me. Keep me updated." "Are you sure?" Your mom sounded scared. "I'm sure." I pocketed my phone. A code blew it on the second floor, and I ran toward it. Months passed. Paula's updates came like clinical field reports, emotionless bulletins from a sinking ship. By month 2, Jagger had slunk back home. Still not working. Mom was calling it a realignment period. The van sat in the driveway like a shrine. Month 3, Dad tried for a part-time job at Home Depot. Mom made him quit, said it was demeaning. Their credit cards were ballooning. Month 4, the van needed new tires. $800. Jagger promised he'd pay when the sponsorship comes in. It never came. They slapped it on a credit card. I read every update in my car before driving home. I never asked follow-ups. Never offered help. I was observing, not intervening. A scientist watching the final stages of predictable collapse. Vaughn noticed a shift, the quiet violence of my calm. "You okay?" he asked one night, his arm around my shoulders. "I'm fine," I said automatically. "Brianna?" He turned my face toward him. "You're smiling." I hadn't even realized. They're drowning. I whispered, "And I'm not jumping in." He kissed my forehead. Good. Month 5 delivered the moment I'd been waiting for. Paula, your dad is about to call Vaughn. He's desperate. Just warning you. I was chopping vegetables when Vaughn's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID, then at me. I nodded. He answered on speaker. "Vaughn, son." Dad's voice was small, shaky, humiliated. "I hate to bother you, but we're in a bit of a situation." "What kind of situation?" Vaughn asked flatly, as if reading a weather report. We need about $500 for groceries. Just a loan. We'll pay you back when Marla's pension comes in next month. My knife paused mid-slice. $500. For months of car insurance on the Mercedes Sprinter van that killed my wedding. Driveway. That was the price of the espresso machine they'd already pawned. Vaughn didn't even tilt his head for my input. His voice was clinical when he spoke into the phone. "You have a $60,000 Mercedes sitting outside. Sell it." The silence that followed was thick. I could hear Dad's breathing, fast, ragged, panicked. That's Jagger's van. He needs it for what?" Vaughn cut in. "He's not touring. He's not producing. It's a luxury vehicle draining your bank account dry. Sell it or take out a loan against it. But don't call me begging for grocery money while you sit on an asset worth more than most people make in a year. Vaughn, please. Marla will be heartbroken if." Then Marla should have considered that before stealing $25,000 from her daughter. The line clicked off. Vaughn placed the phone on the counter and calmly resumed scrolling on his tablet. My hands were trembling. I set down the knife before I sliced my fingers. "Thank you," I whispered. He glanced up. "You don't thank me for doing the bare minimum. Brianna, that's the standard." I stepped behind him and wrapped my arms around his torso. He smelled like our usual laundry detergent and the soft trace of his cologne. He smelled like home. "They're not taking another thing," he murmured. "Not from us. Not ever." I know. Month 6 was when Paula sent the photos. The first was a screenshot from Nextdoor, the neighborhood app where people sold worn-out furniture and complained about cats roaming loose. The listing was posted under Marla's full name. Moving sale. Urgent. Beautiful oak dining set. Seats 8. 600 OBO. 65-inch Samsung Smart TV. Like new. 400. Must sell by Friday. Cash only. Serious inquiries only. MN. The dining set. The one they'd purchased after refinancing the house 3 years back. The TV Dad had mounted himself, spending an entire Saturday adjusting it with an old plastic ruler. I zoomed in. The table was the one I'd sat at through 1,000 stiff dinners, listening to Jagger drone on about his creative genius, while Marla nodded like he was pitching the next Pixar blockbuster. The second photo was worse. Paula had sent it with a single text. "Saw your mom at the jewelry place today." It was a local estate buying shop I'd driven past 100 times growing up. Good prices, total discretion. In Paula's photo, taken from her car window across the lot, Marla was walking out of the store. But it wasn't her face that mattered. It was what she no longer held, what she carried inside moments earlier. Actually, she wasn't clutching it anymore. But Paula had already described it. "She sold your grandmother's jewelry." Paula's next text read, "I watched her walk in with that red velvet box. The one with the brass latch. She came out without it. I'm so sorry, Bree. The red velvet box. Grandma's garnets. The necklace and earring she'd left specifically to Marla with clear instructions that they'd pass to me one day. For Brianna, when she's older, Grandma had said during one of her last Christmases, she'll appreciate them." My vision blurred as I stared at the message. Marla was stripping the house bare to feed the interest on the van loan. She was selling heirlooms, furniture, electronics, anything loose because she was terrified repossession would bruise Jagger's ego. The golden child's chariot mattered more than the family's history. The foreclosure notice arrived in the 7th month. Paula didn't text this time. She called. "They lost the house," she said flatly. "The bank took it. The eviction notice came yesterday." I was sitting in my car at the hospital parking lot. My shift had ended. The California sunset spilled gold and red across the hills. Where are they going? I asked. I don't know. Your mom won't speak to me now. She thinks I'm your informant. Paula's voice wavered. Brianna, I saw Jagger yesterday. He was loading his stuff into the van with his friends. He didn't help your parents pack. He just grabbed his things and left. I closed my eyes. The irony was so sharp it almost cut. Jagger, the golden child, the center of this implosion, drove away in the $60,000 Mercedes Sprinter the day the eviction hit. He saved the car. He abandoned the parents who bought it, left them standing in the driveway with nothing. Thanks for telling me, Paula, I murmured. Are you going to... No. Silence. Okay, she breathed. I get it. I hung up and stayed there another 20 minutes, watching the light fade behind the ridge. Somewhere in the desert, my parents were stuffing their lives into boxes, leaving the home they'd had for 3 decades. Somewhere on a highway, Jagger was blasting music with the windows down, free. I started the engine and drove home to Vaughn. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilt. I felt nothing at all. For years later, I'm in my kitchen in the California suburbs watching my daughter obliterate a banana. Lily is one, which means food is less nutrition and more performance art. Banana is smeared on her tray, her cheeks, and somehow the wall behind her. She looks at me with huge blue eyes, Vaughn's eyes, and laughs like she just discovered humor. You're a menace, I tell her. She claps her banana-coated hands proudly. Vaughn appears in the doorway, coffee in hand, already in work clothes. He surveys the chaos and grins. Should I call hazmat? Probably. He walks over and kisses my head, then bends to kiss Lily's cheek. She immediately grabs for his tie. He's learned to tuck it into his shirt before entering her splash zone. This is my life now. A modest 3-bedroom house with a manageable mortgage, a healthy savings account, a daughter who will never know what it feels like to be the unwanted child, a husband who enforces boundaries like they're fortress walls. We are happy because our peace is intact. The mail arrives at 10 sharp. I'm scrubbing banana off drywall when I hear the mail slot rattle. Lily is in her playpen now, gnawing on a rubber giraffe and babbling in her private language. I flip through the usual stack. Bill's grocery flyers, a wedding invite from one of Vaughn's co-workers. Then I see it, a handwritten envelope, no return address, postmarked from the desert. My hands go cold. I know that handwriting. Shaky now, smaller, but unmistakably Marla's. I should toss it. I should burn it in the sink and sweep the ashes away. Instead, I open it. 2 pages on cheap line paper, probably from a dollar store notebook. Marla's handwriting slopes downward, shrinking with every line. Dear Brianna, it starts. Not Brie, not sweetheart. Those names are forgotten, or she knows she no longer owns them. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you probably hate us. But I'm writing anyway because I'm your mother and you need to understand what happened to us. I skim ahead. It's exactly what I expected. A pity plea. They're living in a trailer park on the edge of town now. A double wide with rust stains and a leaking roof. Dad's health is failing, though she gives no details, which means he's fine, and she's lying. Again, they get by on his pension and her part-time grocery job. They barely scrape rent. Jagger is gone. He moved to Portland 2 years ago with a girl from the internet. He doesn't call, doesn't visit, doesn't send a cent. The van died somewhere in Oregon, and he sold it for scrap. The golden child abandoned them. We are alone, Marla writes, and I can feel the attempt to stir sympathy, to make me feel something. Our father cries at night. He misses you. He wants to apologize, but he doesn't know how to reach you. We made mistakes, Brianna. Terrible mistakes. But we're still your parents. Doesn't that count for something? I flipped to the second page, my jaw tightening. Aunt Paula let slip that you have a daughter. Of course she did. Paula's heart is too soft, which means she's awful at keeping secrets. Please, Brianna, let us meet her. Let's be grandparents. She's the only joy we might still have. We don't need money. We don't need anything except a chance to know our granddaughter. Don't punish us forever. Don't let your anger take that little girl away from her family. The letter ends with both their names. Marla's big looping signature, Leland's. Tiny cramped ones squeeze into the space she left him. Something slips from the envelope when I shake it. A photograph. I pick it up with numb fingers. It's me at 5 years old, perched on Dad's shoulders at the county fair. I'm holding a stuffed elephant I won at the ring toss. Dad's hands grip my ankles, keeping me steady. I'm laughing. He's looking up at me like I'm his greatest creation. I stare at that little girl and feel only pity. She doesn't know yet. She doesn't know that in 27 years, the man holding her will choose her brother. Every single time. She doesn't know her mother will steal from her and blame her for being hurt by it. She doesn't know that family will become a tool for extraction instead of a place of refuge. She still believes love has no conditions. I hear Vaughn's car in the driveway. He's home for lunch. He does that twice a week just to see Lily. During the day, he steps inside, takes one look at my face, and stops. What happened? I hand him the letter, silently. He reads it right there in the kitchen, his expression darkening with every line. When he's finished, he sets on the counter like it's something toxic. What do you want to do? He asks. I glance at the photo again. That little girl on her father's shoulders. That man who used to feel like safety. They don't miss me, I say softly. They never miss me. They missed the $25,000. They missed the $3,500 a month, and now that. They're broke and abandoned, and Jagger's gone. They want access to Lily. They want a fresh retirement plan. Vaughn nods once. So what do we do? I walk to the counter, pick up the letter. Then I tear it in half. Then in half again. I do the same with the photo. Split straight down the middle, separating 5-year-old me from the man holding her. The pieces fall into the trash like confetti. I grab my phone and open my messages with Aunt Paula. Do not give them my address. If they show up here, I'll treat them as trespassers. If you share my location, you and I are done. Do you understand? The typing dots appear, vanish, reappear. I understand. I'm sorry, Bree. I should never have mentioned Lily. No, you shouldn't have. I set my phone down and meet Vaughn's eyes. He's watching me with a quiet kind of pride. You okay? He asks. I'm perfect. I walk to the playpen and lift Lily into my arms. She smells like baby shampoo and banana and every soft, bright thing in the world. She grabs a handful of my hair and yanks, giggling. Ow, I laugh. You're lucky you're cute. Vaughn wraps his arms around both of us. We stand there in the kitchen. One unit, one fortress, one family. Blood makes you related. I whisper into Lily's soft hair. But loyalty makes you family. She won't remember me saying it, but I will.